On this mileage unknown, we are back at it again. It seems like a good rule of thumb, the last 20% takes you 80% of the time. On this mileage unknown, we are back at it again. It's like Groundhog Day. We're working on my Ep15 all over again. We're almost done cleaning up the wiring. On this mileage unknown, we are back in the garage, finally ready to put the engine in my Ep15. We've actually shot a ton of video over the past couple weekends, and I didn't want to turn them into individual videos. So you might actually see some wardrobe changes during this video I put together, because there's videos of us working on the wiring, putting a new clutch and throttle cable in, all kinds of stuff just to get prepared for the engine actually going into the car. Hopefully that makes today's install pretty smooth, but that's what we're working on today, is getting the engine actually in the car and getting the car back on the road. So for starters, all of this wiring, well, almost all of this wiring was patched in and bolted to or plugged into the old starter. I think most Volkswagens probably have 2 wires going to the starter, maybe 3, but we've got a whole gang of wiring going to the starter. So we're trying to clean some of this up, figure out what it is, and that way we don't have any wiring issues with this car. So also in the engine compartment wiring, we had actually redone some of the wiring at one point and cleaned up a little bit, but we still have, you know, random wires that have been snipped off, a lot of stuff going through the firewall and not being really routed correctly, and that's something we want to clean up so it just looks nice and we don't have any electrical issues when we're done. What I was talking about, the voltage regulator, this is the external voltage regulator. Some cars I've seen this bolted directly to the generator. In this car it's under the back seat, but the wiring that's going to this, we essentially need to figure out what needs to be connected to what to bypass this, because the alternator is internally regulated. We don't need this anymore. So we're trying to clean up this wiring as well and just kind of simplify everything, clean it up, and have less electrical issues when it's all set. So on this end, we cleaned up a lot of the wiring that was going from the voltage regulator inside the car out to here, because we don't need that wiring anymore. We may reuse it because it was all new wiring, but we've cleaned up a ton of the wiring that was going to the starter, the wiring going to the voltage regulator. Trav's rewiring this right now. It'll get covered and cleaned up, and then it'll end up behind the firewall insulation like this. We just threw that in to take a look at it, but it'll actually clean this up pretty nice. We've got to do some work on these channels still to be able to get the seals in. And then if you look right here, I actually had to pull the clutch arm lever back to even get the cable that's in the car right now started. So that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm going to pull out the clutch cable and the throttle cable. And when I said that throttle cable was like a solid wire, that's it right there. I mean, it's bent and beat to crap, and I think it's going to cause us issues in the long run. So we're going to go ahead and replace that as well. So a quick look at what I'm actually doing. I'm going to need to remove the 2 bolts that hold the pedal assembly, as well as there's a little clip here that I need to pull off so I can pull the pin to release that brake arm, and then I can pull the pedal assembly out to get to the throttle cable. As you can see, it's hooked here, which we might almost be able to do it without, but the clutch cable runs inside the tunnel. The only way to get to it is going to be to remove this pedal assembly. So here's the pedal assembly. There's the little hook for the clutch cable. I'm not gonna lie, that was a whole lot of shenanigans trying to get that clutch cable into the tube. We messed around with that for quite a while, and by more or less dumb luck, my brother got it in the hole. For some reason, this car, I couldn't reach in far enough to get it lined up, and yeah, it was a super pain in the butt. But we've actually got the clutch cable run, the throttle cable run. One little trick you might want to do is, even though that's hooked on that clutch cable, I'm going to take a small wire tie and just actually tie the cable to that hook. So when I'm fiddling around trying to get the pedal assembly lined up and bolted back up, that cable doesn't actually pop off accidentally. So under the hood of the 56, you can see the wiring all going into the ignition switch there. My brother's been working on it and rewiring some of the stuff. I mean, there's still kind of a rat's nest going on over here. A lot of that is speaker wire and stuff related to this radio, so we might need to do something to clean that up. But we were able to actually save one or two of the wires from the factory loom that had been cut on at some point, and rewire them back to the switch and clean up some of the wiring going over to the lights. This car didn't even have the oil light hooked up, or there was one other thing that wasn't even hooked up, and Travis was able to clean some of that stuff up. If you saw on the time lapse, I'm not even sure if that actually came out or not, but I actually had to use vice grips on this throttle. I'm going to call it a wire, not a cable, and actually use my foot to get it to push through the tube. Normally I say hang on to your parts, they're good spares to throw under the hood, but this throttle wire is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I would not hold on to this as a spare at all. So hopefully once it broke free, we'll actually be able to get the new throttle cable through without the same issues. Guess we'll find out. It's kind of nice having some extra Volkswagens to look at when you have some crazy projects going on. This is my 69 Volkswagen. This is Bugly. It's been around for a million years. It was actually my brother's first car when he was 16. There's the rolled over 65. We're coming into a problem now, potentially why that crazy throttle cable was used on the 56 is it's missing the tube, or the tube has been cut off, and I'm not sure what we're going to have to do with that just yet. It's something I haven't had to replace, so I guess it's something I should have looked at when we were looking into or when we were ordering some of the parts. It's all the small stuff. It's the small stuff that kills your project and your time when you're missing just something so simple. But Bugly will get worked on at some point. 65, still not sure what we're doing with it just yet. We are one giant step closer. The engine's actually in the 56 at this point. You can see the The sound ending stuff we used, I got that from Wolfsburg West, I believe. And I think it looks a lot nicer than the standard sound ending you see. We've just got to get the rest of the engine tin in, the carburetors in, and see if this thing will run again after all this shenanigans. What do you think, Pops? We're that much closer. You getting excited?
I really am. It's nice to see the engine back in the car. Get the carbs on it, get it all tied in, see if it'll start, see if it'll run. That's the big deal.
Yep. We finally have the engine in. Everything's wired, the carbs are hooked up. We know it cranks over. That's as far as we've made it. We haven't really cranked it that long to try and start it. I think we're going to have to spray some starting fluid down the carbs because the whole system's completely dry. But I'm going to leave the camera running while we try and start this bad boy up. See how it goes. Sound weird to you?
No.
Go for another.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's not like
I mean, we know there's no gas in it.
Do we even know if there's gas in the gas tank?
Yeah. Should be.
Did it all leak out?
I don't think it all leaked out. Excited it ran?
Yeah.
What did it do inside the house?
What?
What happened inside the house when we started it?
The Lego fell off.
The Legos fell off?
Yeah.
Did it explode everywhere?
No, there's only teensy tiny pieces.
Only little pieces?
Yeah.
Crashed.
We'll have to fix the Legos, huh?
Yeah, and Daddy wash his hands before he touches it.
Yeah. You don't want him to get the Legos dirty?
Wow, that sounds good.
Got the car working.
That sounds good.
That's exciting.
Now doesn't actually drive.